pleasure now to introduce Christina Kaleva. I hope I've said that well enough. Going to talk about the non-existent art of user story analysis. Christina is a process geek, software tester and mentor, currently running a process improvement consultancy. For more than 17 years in the industry, Christina has realized that software quality is not guaranteed only by testing, but by a full picture process approach implemented by efficient and engaging practices. She helps startups start on the right foot with software quality and believes in early risk mitigation and intense collaboration as tools for delivering high quality software fast and safe and for building motivated teams. Her mission is to help as many teams not get lost in translation about software quality and agile workflows. Thank you so much, Christina. Off you go. Take care.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, everyone, for joining me today for this talk. Thank you, SIGiST, for having the coffee break right before my talk, so everyone is wide open and awake. Today, I thought I was going to call my title Death by Refinement meetings. Some of you might have the chance to listen to the brilliant David J.P. Phillips. He has a talk called Death by PowerPoint. So there are many speakers here today, so some of you might have heard it. If not, check it out. The user story analysis is intense collaboration practice to avoid this thing. What is user story analysis? It looks like this. And before you leave the room, bear with me. I know what you're thinking. If we have to do this for every user story, we will not deliver anything. The truth is that in the no documentation era, we certainly got lost somewhere between the 20 pages software requirement specification. You remember the old school documents, and the one sentence user story. The truth is that all the knowledge we have about a user story is still 20 pages, but it's not written anywhere today. So here's a Miro board. Some of you might recognize it. It's a Miro board template, publicly available. You'll see the link at the end of the presentation. And I've called it user story analysis. It's a collaboration technique, very engaging, compact, even though it looks a lot, it's actually very compact, straightforward, thorough, it's quality driven, it's engaging, it makes us empathize with our users. Let's see what it is. Before I walk you through the entire template, let's see what problems we're trying to solve. What problems exist in modern software development? They're all the same for every company. Bugs, delays, and frustration. As you heard, it's not a brag, it's just a fact. I've been in software testing actually for 17 years, and I've recently approximately counted that I'm probably reported 5,000 bugs, more or less. Most of those bugs should have been requirements. Most of those bugs were ambiguous requirements, misunderstandings, things we didn't care to spend 20 minutes more to discuss. We were always in a rush, and we still are. Modern software development is about speed. If there's some time, we do some testing, but most probably it's about speed, and this rush leads and ends up in bugs. It actually takes us more time to deliver features that we didn't discuss thoroughly than features we actually spent some time discussing them thoroughly. And it causes a lot of frustration. Development teams are usually frustrated people. They are. Why this happens? Well, it's a lot about culture, knowledge, education, management, etc., things. These are not easily solvable challenges, but they're symptoms that we can try to heal a little bit. It's the user story drama. It's elusive knowledge, undiscoverable knowledge about considerations, risks, concerns, actual customer expectations, actual customer needs, actual customer intentions, business strategy and vision. This knowledge is not easily accessible for the development teams. And last but not least, it's the boring refinement meetings. The user story analysis is actually an agenda for effective, engaging, intensely collaborative refinement meetings. First thing first, what is a user story? Why do we still talk about these user stories? Isn't it clear? It's one sentence. Well, the user story is a nasty little piece of text. Why is it a nasty one? Because it's so well known. It looks so simple that we can't imagine we can get it wrong. And yet we are. I've been working with product managers who were absolutely convinced that the product backlog item or the piece of requirement that is presented to the development team should be only this one sentence, nothing else, because this is the user story. There should be nothing else. The rest is noise. They will get distracted. We don't have time to elaborate. And the other end of the spectrum are the product managers and product owners that would write paragraphs of text nobody would care to read, and nobody would comprehend quickly and efficiently if they make the effort to read them. So somewhere in between, I've been thinking a lot, what should be a good user story? How to write a good user story that actually works for the team and actually represents the customer value, and it drives development, and etc., etc. It streamlines communication. It makes it easy for everyone to understand what we should build, what customer value we should deliver at the end of the sprint. I talked to many people about it. I talked to the fathers of the user stories. And I've realized that the user story shouldn't be that good. It's not the requirement. The user story is a conversation starter. It's indeed a conversation starter. Most of you have heard about the 3 C's. Check it out if you haven't. Yes, the user story is a conversation starter. That piece of sentence is the title of all the work we need to deliver. It's then followed by discussion. We need to discuss. We need to challenge that sentence. We need to break it down. We need to tear it down. We need to understand, comprehend, and agree, is this really what you need to deliver, and how are we going to deliver it? It's not the requirement. So even though we're not good at writing user stories, we have a method to overcome this problem. And everyone turns to that method. It's called the refinement meetings. What is a refinement meeting? If you search Google for how to run effective refinement meetings, you will get 17 million results. 17 million results about how to run effective refinement meetings. And yet, all development teams worldwide look like Paul Rudd on that picture. They're bored during refinement meetings. They don't know what to do and how to contribute to the outcome of those refinement meetings. Even though all these articles clearly state what is the outcome of the refinement meeting. You need to have ordered backlog, properly estimated user stories, common agreement about what should be delivered. The team should have gotten comfortable and to commit to deliver that piece of user value represented by the user story at the end of the refinement meeting. However, nobody tells you what is the output of the refinement meeting, how all this knowledge is represented, where it is. Here's a typical refinement meeting. The product managers are busy people. They need to cater to customers. expectations to urgent customer calls, demos, marketing calls, sales calls, urgent roadmap refinement meetings with the C and V levels. They never have time. So that's in that typical refinement meeting. Yet again, they didn't have time to elaborate on the acceptance criteria and to the details. They promised they will write them today. Engineers didn't read the agenda upfront because engineers read nothing upfront. You cannot make them. That's the law. All of us here are probably engineers, including myself. We don't have time to read upfront. We're smart. We'll figure it out. Then, if we're lucky, there's a UX person, and the UX person is usually the one that's most prepared for a refinement meeting. However, nobody asks them because the rest of the team is not prepared. And the UX person is usually working with 2 or 3 teams. So they just wait for 15 minutes and silently sneak out of the meeting to attend to the other team's refinement meeting because all of them are at the same time. And then, of course, there is a QA person, the tester, who always have bugs in mind. And there are bugs from the previous sprint that we didn't refine and they're not prioritized. And are we going to fix them? And they're, of course, worried. And the moment the tester mentions the bugs, everyone got very relieved because now they have something clear to talk about and to discuss. So the user stories were not refined. Then the sprint planning turns into a refinement meeting. We're kind of ready to commit and to proceed with the sprint. And then it's the second Thursday of the sprint, meaning that tomorrow is the sprint demo and the developer is almost done. We're almost done for the sprint review. And then they remember a use case that I think I asked the product owner about it. Where was it? Was it on Slack or was it an email? No, the product owner forwarded to me a message from the customer where they mentioned something about it. Where is this email? I can't find it. Okay, never mind. I'll just send her a Slack message. And she's very early in the morning. She'll answer. I'll have a couple of hours to get that story ready for the review. Yeah. It's very late. I'll just send her a Slack message. She'll let me know on Slack. However, the product managers are people too, they're humans. They need to take a break from time to time. So they decided to take a long weekend and they cannot answer about that last use case, meaning the user story will not be done. The developer is very much frustrated. They're about to burn out because it's late at night. The user story will have to move to the other sprint, etc., etc., etc. I have worked in many teams that were in this situation once or twice. It's inevitable. In the no documentation era, it's inevitable to miss information, to miss knowledge, to not being able to find that knowledge. We should not remember everything. It should be written somewhere. So here it is, introducing the user story analysis, coming to the rescue. It has 6 frames: text analysis, context analysis, user visualization, a very cool abbreviation. You can't have a framework without cool abbreviation, NIQR, of course, quality and test analysis, and the task breakdown. Let's see what is each. Text analysis is about making sure we're not working, garbage in, garbage out. It makes sure that we're not wasting time because we didn't write that piece of text properly. That piece of text needs to be of the same quality as everything else. Yes, there will be things we're not certain about. There will be things we need further clarification. We need to discuss. We need to do that analysis, of course, but still that little piece of text needs to be of good quality. It represents the reputation of the product people, just like test cases represent the reputation of testers and code represents the skills and the knowledge of the developers. So the user story needs to be of good knowledge. I will only make sure to mention the no scope cut and no scope creep rule, if you like. We all know what is scope creep. A scope cut is even worse because it represents all the assumptions a product manager makes with that piece of text. We don't need this. This is going to be too complicated. It will take too long. If I write it, it will distract them. We will only discuss it. It doesn't have to be written there. All these assumptions mean that at the end of the sprint, we will hear from the development team, we should have refined it better. We can't deliver it this sprint because there were unplanned work and surprises that we figured out during the work. Is this the agile way? Yes, probably, but is it a waste? And does it eat our time and actually delay us instead of making us more productive? Yes, it is. So make sure the text is well written. And if you don't know what is a well written user story text and sentence, follow this checklist. The second one is the context analysis. And today we heard many times that we need to keep asking why. Yet again, we need to keep asking why. Why does the user want this? Why does the user need this? Yes, but why this exact need? Why? What's their actual problem? What's their actual motivation? Is this the thing that they actually need? We cannot stop asking why. We can keep asking it all the time, and there will still be new knowledge revealed. There will still be new learnings. At the end of the context analysis, very often that initial user story is no longer existing. It has turned out into a new user story or several other new user stories. This context analysis makes sure that the entire team is on the same page about the actual motivation, user motivation. Speaking about the user, this is my favorite third frame. It's the user visualization. I have worked in teams where a senior software developer would call the user stupid. I would also work on a team while I was doing performance tests with, not performance, sorry. We were hearing a lot about performance testing today. Acceptance testing with the users on site. And we've been reporting critical bugs, of course. Everything's critical at acceptance tests. The developer would tell us and the user that we were using the software wrong. Development teams are far from the users. There's a huge gap between the team and the users. And this gap, they're usually salespeople, product people, user research people, again, if we're lucky. Then there are the expectations from the C-level who has signed the contract with conditions that were not mentioned in it. We don't know the user as development team. We don't know the user, and it's absolutely normal. So the user visualization frame is the place and the time for the team to immerse into our user reality. Why? Because the way our users are feeling when they use our features determines their quality expectations. If our user is tired, then we need to be extra careful to protect them from making mistakes. We need to be extra careful for validations. We need to make sure they can proceed and recover if they make mistake, because if they're tired, they will make mistake. They don't pay attention. Then if they're excited or anxious, it will make them intolerant of our software, which means that they could do unspeakable things to it. We need to be extra careful to plan for invalid test cases. And then suddenly all edge cases become standard test cases because this is our user. They don't have to know our software the way we do. They don't have all our knowledge. They just use it while they think about something else, which is much more urgent for them and much more important. It's not our software. Then I only want to mention that if there is a use case about which we have doubts what priority it should be, ask yourselves why our users are still using our product, why they're loyal to us. This will help us figure out the actual priority of a use case. And then you can come up with any other question that will help you immerse yourself in your user's reality and put ourselves in our customer's shoes so we can really take care of them. We can make them either happier with our software or we can make them miserable. Remember, we are customers ourselves. New QR alignment: goals, needs, intentions, quality, risks. Align the business needs and goals and vision with the market needs and goals, with the product intentions. Brainstorm on technical risks and define the quality expectations. This is the ultimate, this frame is the ultimate validation technique for your story. If all of these are aligned, then that's the thing you need to do. Also, this is the place where it's kind of a midterm check about what we learned from the previous steps or frames. Finally, quality and test analysis. Here's a small tip. You can actually only do that frame, not the rest. But the thing is that you will inevitably turn to the other frames because they hold all the answers. All of us are testers here. I will not tell you how to do testing at all. But why this is the crucial frame and the crucial spot. This frame will save your deadline. This frame will save your velocity. This frame will save your face in front of the customer. This frame will make your development team happy, and it will enable them to be brave and innovative. Why? Because we took our time to get prepared for when the things will go wrong, and they will, usually. 3 crucial questions. What could go wrong? What must always work? And how are we going to test it? If so far we empathized with the user, this frame and asking these 3 questions make us feel a sudden burst of sympathy for ourselves. Because when things go wrong, it's us who will have to deal with it. Get ready for when you deliver that piece of software. How are we going to test it? How are we going to prepare for when things go wrong? Do we have all the test users? The DevOps team took all of the test users because of a security policy. We don't have access to that test data. Do we have the test environment up and running? Yes, for some of us, these are obvious questions that don't need to be asked. Everything is already jailed, working well, but for many teams, they're crucial. That will save their deadline. So spend time to brainstorm what could go wrong and how are we going to cover for it. This frame also has 2 other superpowers. First, it makes testing visible. And second, it requires engagement from the entire team. Last but not least is the tasks breakdown, and it's not what you think it is. When we talk about tasks breakdown, we usually think about coding tasks and testing tasks. The thing is that it takes a village to deliver customer value. And development teams will often complain that they were delayed and they're blocked because of external dependencies. Here's the thing. If an external dependency is a problem, then make it internal and dissolve it within the team. We're a whole team. This frame encourages collaboration on a company level, cross-team collaboration. And it's crucial because teams, and depending on the organizational culture and structure, don't talk to each other. And it makes it a problem. So here's a frame where that would make the team to think outside the team. Quick overview. User story analysis is a collaboration technique for effective refinement meetings and has these 6 steps to inspire development teams, asks all these questions and put all their thoughts, considerations, risks, concerns, agreements, decisions in one accessible, welcoming, shared place. How to adopt it? You can do one story at a time. You can do one frame at a time. It's up to you. Give it a try. The great advice I could give it to you is that don't rush it. Take your time and do a lot of exercises. Do as many user stories as you can before you actually adopt the practice. Key takeaways. User story is a conversation starter. Refinement meetings without an agenda are a waste of time. It's much more efficient to spend time in analysis upfront because there are many things that are known, but we are just scattered across Slack channels, emails, Confluence, Jira comments, etc., than to spend your time fixing bugs and soothing disappointed customers and burnt out developers, and keep everything in one place. Thank you. This presentation will not be possible without the wonderful artist Denik Sasek and his stickman. This is the link to the board, miro.com/miroverse/user story analysis. Take it out because there is an actual example there of a user story. Run through all of the steps with examples, with test cases, with tasks, with risks, all of it. The entire analysis is made. So give it a try. And that's it. You can follow me on Twitter, LinkedIn, or not follow me, but find me and ask me questions. Give it a try. Let me know how it works. I'll be happy to answer your questions.
Christina, thanks ever so much. Well done. Well done. I've had an interest in user stories for, I don't know, about 12 years since they kind of came on the scene. I thought, they're fantastic. But the original definition was kind of, it's a trigger for a conversation. That's great. But then if you're working in, let's say, bigger systems or any system, would argue really, a story, even with the Gherkin definition, gets into some difficulty, doesn't it? I mean, a story is the right way forward. I mean, this is kind of from left field a little bit in that, are there other reasons why people don't refine the user stories? I mean, other than running out of time or having other distractions, what do you think? Because what you've offered is fantastic, but is that another thing for people to do and they haven't got time? What do you think?
This time is planned in their calendars, and that's the great absurd for me, because teams have refinement meetings. They just don't know what to do there.
Yeah.
There's no clear agenda. And without a clear agenda and clear expectations, what do we expect? Also, in all teams I've been worked, that's kind of fun fact. Refinement meetings are on Wednesday afternoon, and that's the most productive, focused time for engineers. Also, we are refining, and that's a slide I didn't include, we're refining things for 5-10 days ahead. It's completely out of the context. We're not in the context. We can't imagine what we're talking about. The context switching is painful. Yeah. So it's a simple organizational thing. It's a matter of having clear agenda and plan it a little better.
I'm very sympathetic to what you're trying to do, because just to plug something I did 10 years ago, I wrote a little book about getting user stories right. And there's a method in there. I'll send you a PDF. It might be of interest. I mean, it's 10 years old, but, whatever. I don't go into as much detail as you, but it was like a methodology for finding faults in Gherkin stories. And it's called Defo Spam. It's a terrible name, but there's a reason. I'll send you the book. And we had real difficulty because people just said, we've got a story, now let's crash on and write code. And the temptation is to say, well, we'll fix it as we go, because we'll be talking every day. And as you've explained, I mean, it's just too complicated to succeed. I mean, again, small projects maybe, but anything above small gets into difficulty,
As you said in the beginning, I did work with startups, with small projects for a couple of years. They were small projects and they fell miserably because of all these faulty understandings about user stories.
Yeah.
And they can't afford this. That's the thing, that they spend time doing ineffective refinements. They waste time talking to each other when they could say it separately in personal messages, when they could just sit in front of a whiteboard, which was, I don't know, the root, the origin of user stories. Sit in front of a wall and break it down. and suddenly 20 years later, we're back to square one.
Yeah.
So it is challenging, and not only for big organizations, but for small organizations, because we rush into, we'll fix it later. And I have a blog post called, "You'll never fix it later."
Yeah. I wonder how much of the problem is people misinterpreting Agile and saying that Agile says we don't do documentation, so we shouldn't be getting too involved in writing good user stories, which is not the right thing to do, obviously. So I think
you said it.
But it's been like that for 20 years. I mean, I get, when I get into conversations about Agile, and some people are still just starting, and this is nearly 25 years, and we're not even halfway. Crazy.
There are a lot of regressions, Paul. That's
yeah. So I have to close it there. I'm really sorry. I've got to move on to the next session, of course. Christina, once more, thanks ever so much, and well done. And you've got some really nice comments in the chat, so take a look.
Thank
Thanks
you.
again.
Thank you, everyone.